when the going gets tough. Yes, you are in the right place. I am so super excited that you guys have joined me today. I'm Angela Brown, and I'm here today with Vincent Pugliese. Now, I know many of you have joined us because when the going gets tough as a business owner, it's really easy to stop and say, oh no, what do I do next? And sometimes we second guess ourselves. And sometimes we think about quitting. And sometimes we annihilate our reality with things like alcohol or sleep or the internet, or we get out and we put on a pair of running shoes and we just go off for long distance runs and hope that our business will just kind of fade off into the background. And then when we come back, we're like, and now what? What now? And I love it that Vincent has joined us today, because one of the things that's exciting about what we're doing today, Vincent is a wealth coach, and he works with the cream of the crop of business owners, and he brings them to find their financial freedom by expanding their horizons. So when the going gets tough, what do you do next? And that's why we've got Vincent here. So Vincent, hello and welcome to our show today.
Angela, thrilled to be here. So every time we talk, I get energetic and psyched up. So I'm excited for this. Thrilled to be here. Whatever you need to hear about who I am, I can give you the long version, short version. I'm like a cat. I've got 9 lives. So it's like, depending on which area you want to start with, but whatever you need to know about me, let me know.
Well, the group that we have joining us today are business owners, and primarily entrepreneurs and cleaning business owners that have dug in and they've given their business their all. And now they're at a point where they are trying to avoid burnout. They're trying to deal with the pressures of every day. They're trying to figure out, I'm trying to grow and it's super stressful. And so the going has gotten tough. And so tell us about your experience and how and why you deal with these high level business owners, and how maybe we can learn something from you today.
Yeah, it's great because it's like so often you're going to see it where exactly what you're describing. There's this burnout. There's this, it's almost like you love what you get started. I'm not sure if anybody relates to this, but you start a business, you don't want to have a job, right? You don't want to work for somebody else. So you start a business, but so often when you start a business without a structure of growth, you're building a business that you essentially just have your own job. And that's what a lot of people find out. Like, wait a second, now I've built a job because the more my business grows, the more time it takes from me. Like, I have to keep doing this work. So yeah, I'm making more money, but I'm spending more time, but now it's getting stressed out. So that reaches that point that you're talking about. It's like this burnout. Like, what, do I keep doing this? Do I have to find a different way? My whole thing, and what I love helping people do, is create recurring online income, because that's truly where you start getting that freedom. Our business is Total Life Freedom, membership freedom. That's what we help people do, create memberships so that they can create recurring online income that instead of doing everything one-to-one, you can do it one-to-many. You're a perfect example of that, right? Coming from the world that you've been in to now how you're able to expand your business, create multiple income streams, create that freedom in your life and that control. I think that's what so many people want. So any answers that I can help with this along the way, it's what I love helping with, because when you see people go from that stressed out point of view, like where they're not spending enough time with their family, where no matter how much they work, they're not making enough money, to actually gaining that freedom, having more time, being able to travel if they want, choosing who they want to work with and who they don't want to work with. That's a big one. To be able to say no to people you don't want to work with, or companies you don't want to work with because they don't align with you. You can't do that when you're stressed out, because you got to just take the work for the money. If you can shift the mindset and realize there's other ways of doing this, and there's other ways of creating income that don't rely just on your time, that was the game changer for us. And that's what we help other people do.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that with us and for reminding us that there are other options. Now, we asked our audience in advance of today some of the questions that they wanted to ask you. And we had a question that says, how do you stay motivated when things are tough? And this is from Steve W. And I'm curious to know, as a business owner, because you're an entrepreneur and your own business owner for many years. Yeah. And so how do you stay motivated?
We've went through this, Steve. We've went through this so many times. And what's nice about the process is each time you go through it, you just gain strength, almost like a hurricane. It's like at the very beginning, it's like, I don't know if I can keep going with this. Like, I don't know if I'm cut out for this. I don't know if the whole thing, I don't know if I'm an entrepreneur. I'm not sure if I'm meant to be a business owner. And I always question that. I'm like, how do you know that? The school system made us go through a process where we don't believe that we could actually control our own destiny. It's like, oh, go get a job. We're going to, as opposed to what if we were trained from the very beginning to be able to run our own thing? That's the way it used to be before, 1800 people had their own businesses. It wasn't a public school system like it is today. So I think we're not strengthened and guided to be able to deal with this. So in the very beginning, I'm not sure how far along you are, but for me in the very beginning, I would question it a lot. I'd be like, this is just too tough. How do I keep going? How do I stay motivated? And Steve, the thing that's really nice is once you figure it out a couple times and you realize I've been through this 3 or 4 or 5 times over the last couple of years, and guess what? I'm not dead. I'm still here and I'm still going. You don't get as demotivated by it. I love the challenge. That's where it comes to now. We always iterate our business. We're constantly shifting and changing. And I don't always call it growing, but I call it evolving. Sometimes I don't want to grow, but I want to evolve. I want to get better, right? So every one of those that's a growing pain. Every single one of them, I've learned to take that on and be like, this, what does this make possible? I've had a lot of mentors say to me, like, what, something bad happens, what does this make possible? And in those situations, it makes possible the resilience that you grow with, that you develop. You become stronger. You get a thicker skin. You also you learn that the criticisms that you get, those people go away. I think about the people that criticized me a year ago, or maybe something didn't work out. Life went on. Things got better. They're not around anymore, and they're not in my head anymore, but they were when it happened. So to realize, always use whatever pain you're going through as a growing opportunity to learn just something a little bit more. Like whatever you're dealing with right now, how do you stay motivated? What are you learning right now in your pain that is going to make you just a little bit better a month from now? If you can keep doing that, you realize, the motivation always happens because I'm always getting better with myself and what I'm doing. That's how I do it. And I don't let the lows get very low anymore. And I also don't let the highs get very high anymore. That's been a big deal for me.
I love that answer because that encourages us to keep looking for the silver lining in an awkward moment or a time where we don't feel like we're being very successful. I want to add one thing to Steve's comment. I'm going to give yourself permission to quit. And I say that because I have quit my business 5 times in a 30-year career. And when I quit, I was forced to go do something else. And as I did something else, I was like, oh yeah, I remember why I went into business for myself. I remember now why I wanted to do that. I remember why the pain of being in business for myself is so less than being in business with someone else or for someone else or working for someone else or working a job. And then I rehired myself and I said, wait a second, I'm going to start all over again. And now I don't fire myself anymore because I know that I'm going to come right back and I'm going to hire myself all over again. But give yourself permission to quit or to fire yourself. Because what has happened is, like, not too long ago, I got in my head and I was having a bad day. And I said, if I wasn't doing this today, what would I be doing? And then I said, actually, I would be doing the exact same thing. This is what I want to be doing. This is the job I want to be doing. And then I said, then why are you having a bad day? Well, I don't know. I just am having a bad day. Okay, then take a bad day or take a day off or take a wellness day, but then go out there and go back to what you're doing, because if this is truly what you love, then love doing it. And it's a different mind shift.
Yeah.
And so how do you stay motivated? You have to have honest conversations with yourself. And if it means fire yourself for the weekend, make sure that you're ready to hire yourself back again on Monday, because you probably have work to do. But give yourself a chance to look at that from both angles. So
I love that. And with that in that line, I always view it as a pivot. Like we can use the word quit, we can use the word pivot. We're constantly pivoting. For me, quitting sometimes scares me, like I'm ending this, right? And I think there's a fear that comes with that. But the fact that I know that I'm always pivoting and there will be another pivot along the way, that gives me permission to change, like you're talking about. It gives me permission to reassess where I'm at. I don't have to say, well, the dreaded lines, well, this is the way we've always done it, right? Have you ever been in a job or a business? This is the way it's not working. You're going down the tubes. This is the way we've always done it. You're dead, right? You're dead in the water. But if you are always open to pivoting and shifting without having to completely restart, it allows you to take what you've done very well and keep that and get rid of the things that you don't want and improve. It's almost like, take a step back to go a couple steps forward. So I'm always looking for the next pivot because I want to stay relevant in whatever I'm doing. And think about business in 2018. It's way different than it is now. If we never changed or pivoted, we'd be like, this used to work so great. Why did this work in 2000s? And now there's so much more competition, so much more niche because you haven't adjusted and pivoted. So that's my point of view all the time.
And when you say pivot, what an interesting word. I call it snag success. And to me, it's the same thing that Vincent's saying about pivot. But instead of pivoting, I say snag success because I'm going to reach success in my business and then I'm going to hit a snag. And that snag is going to be my comfort zone. I reached the end of my comfort zone. And now in order for me to grow a little bit, I'm going to have to get back out of my comfort zone. And that's the snag. So in order for me to get to the next level of success, I'm going to have to write a bigger check for payroll. I'm going to have to write a bigger check to the IRS, or I'm going to have to go out and buy a couple more cars for my cleaning business, or I'm going to have to go out and run some ads to get more clients or something. There's going to be something that I've gone as far as I can go with the resources and the equipment that I have. And then there's going to be this level of uncomfort and stress, and it's going to be triggered by my not sleeping at night. I'm going to wake up in the middle of the night and I'm going to be tossing and turning and I'm going to be anxious and I'm going to be full of anxiety and I'm going to be stressed out like, oh my goodness, my business is falling apart. Like things are going kaput. Like, heck, what do I do next? And then I go, oh, wait a second. I'm at that level where my business must pivot, as Vincent would say. I love that.
Okay. Can we go back? Because I love that because as you said that, I realized we're going through a pivot right now. We're going to a much more niched version of what we've been doing for the last 7 years. And as that was starting, as you say that, I was getting fantastic sleep for 3 or 4 months before that. And then as it started, and as the ideas started coming in, like, this is where we have to go. I started having a lot more conversations, started getting the feedback from it, started getting excited, also started getting nervous, right? Because things are going to shift. And that's when exactly what you're talking about happened. I started having the restless sleep. It was the 2 o'clock in the morning wake up with my mind going, is this going to work? Is that going to work? Is this a problem? Should we stay where we're at? Should we not do this? All the things people go through. And I think you're absolutely right. And I think it's nice to say that out loud because in the middle of the night, we think we're alone. And what I've joked with other entrepreneurs about when I hear that they were up at 3 o'clock in the morning, you should have just texted me. We could have talked for an hour. Because we were all going through it. There almost needs to be a club like the 3 a.m. club. It's like, hey, are you also going through a pivot in your business that you're changing and you're nervous and you're excited, but you're nervous and you're unsure? We're awake anyway. We might not even get back to sleep. Let's chat for an hour and calm each other down because no matter what level you get to, that's the thing that really surprised me. No matter how much we leveled up in our business and our life, that next pivot was still scary. It was more exciting because there is more to lose sometimes, but we had done it 7 or 8 times. So we're going to survive, but it's still scary every single time. And I want people even in the very beginning that never goes away, but the rewards of being successful with this life is unlike anything else I can imagine working for somebody else, in my opinion.
Well, you just said the 3 a.m. club, and please don't text me at 3 a.m. I'm not going to respond to any text at 3 a.m. What I heard you say though is have an accountability partner where when you're going through something, you do not have to go through it alone. And that's what mastermind groups and membership groups are all about, is it's having an accountability partner, somebody that maybe it's not the leader of that group, but maybe it's another member of the group where you then are texting them or you're staying in touch with them. And if you have a spouse, I encourage you to have your spouse be that accountability partner where every step of the journey, because what's happening to you is also affecting your family. And so I know, for example, in my business, when I started my business as a cleaning business owner, I started it before I had a husband. And so when I got married, then my husband is kind of marrying into my business. And so I had to say, hey, listen, let's stop and regroup right now. But you are my rock and my encouragement. Yeah. And so I need you to be on board with what I'm doing. And I want to keep you in the loop every step of the way so that as we pivot and we make changes, you get to have a say in it. It's technically my business, but you get to have a say because what I do as part of our family, you're affected by this. And so it's really interesting because like this morning, you talk about you're going through a pivot right now, and that doesn't mean you're not wildly successful.
Mhm.
As long as we've been in business, and I'm 32 years into the business, I'm going through a pivot today.
Mhm.
And so this morning, my husband and I went out walking together, and I ran through these are my concerns and my worries, and what are my blind spots, and what is it that I'm not seeing? And he gave me some ideas. And then when I got back to my office this morning and the employees showed up, I believe in transparency to a degree. And so I got my employees together and I said, hey guys, we're going through a pivot. And I want your opinion on what you see from your perspective, because their perspective is different than my husband's perspective, right? So in my head, I've got my own perspective. He has his perspective from a slightly outside perspective, but a family perspective. And how does this affect us in the long run? Then I have the employees who are going to be affected by the extra workload.
Totally.
How do you guys see this? And what am I not seeing? And we went around the room and everybody got to share what they were most afraid of. Here's how this might fail.
Mm.
And then here's how this might succeed. And if we were going to succeed, what do we have to do? And how does that affect what we're currently doing? And then we all went around the room and we were spinning ideas like, oh, I never thought of that. Oh, that's a great idea. Don't ever mention that again. Right. And we were sharing ideas then that now we have more information to go forward with than we did before. So if you are going through it alone, it might be because you haven't spun those ideas with other people. And before you go off and just say, oh, this is what we're doing now, I don't know. Maybe it makes sense to have a couple of conversations from a couple different vantage points so that when you do make that decision, it's an informed business decision that everybody that's on the team can live with.
So true. It's funny within our group, and I'll talk to people about this, and we get in our own heads, right? We're talking to ourselves so much. And I finally started saying to a bunch of people at different times was, you're talking to yourself more than you're talking to your people. Meaning you're having way more conversations in your head and you don't really know if it's a good answer simply because it's just you giving the answers. But if you can talk to other people, like have those conversations, first of all, you're going to relieve fear. You're going to build trust. Like you said, you just probably built a whole lot of trust with your team by saying, this is what we're going through. This is what the changes are. What are your thoughts? You gave them ownership. And when you give people around you ownership and just the feedback that they can give to you, whenever that's given to me, I feel so appreciative to be a part of it. You might not even take my answer and do anything with it, but you listen to it. Huge part of it. But we're sometimes, especially when we're struggling, we're on our own, we're in our own head. We don't want to talk to anybody else because we're embarrassed. We don't want to show fear or weakness. So we talk to, and we make decisions in our own stressed out mind. That's when it spirals downhill. That's why, and my wife is accountability partner of mine, but she also will say to me, you got to talk to other people, right? You need a group because it can affect our marriage sometimes if I go to her too much, right?
Mm-hmm.
We want to be there for one another, but I don't want her to be my only sounding board on business because she's my wife and mother of our kids and we have that life. So I don't want to damage that. It's there, but I got to go to my, my board of directors, as we call it, my groups to be able to get those answers.
Well, and that's an interesting point. Because who do you go to when you have questions and you're specifically looking for, I don't know, a certain set of feedback? We have a question that came in along that line where Kate says, clarity coach, I need one. Is there such a thing that services small cleaning companies? And it's not necessarily small cleaning companies as much as a clarity coach for the topic that you're seeking help for. And I say this for the reason that, and I'm going to ask Vincent about this in a second. But one of the things I've noticed for my business is if I have accounting issues, I can go to my spouse, and my spouse happens to be a finance manager. His background and his education is in finance, therefore he can help me. But if I'm going for health food information, he's probably not the expert.
Yeah.
And so instead of him being my clarity coach for health and nutrition, I might want to go to a health and nutrition coach who specializes in that.
Yeah.
Because even though I love my husband and I want to go to him for the advice or the accountability, there might be a clarity coach that could help me that has a background in the thing I'm looking for. And I wish there was one coach for everything in your business, but there's not. And one of the things I've discovered over the years, there could be a social media coach. There could be a marketing coach. There could be an employee and hiring, recruiting, training coach. There are different types of coaches based on different specialties that your business must go through in order to survive. What's your take on that, Vincent?
No, I totally agree. And the more it's becoming a specialized world. It's becoming a niche. I remember reading The Long Tail 20 years ago, and I couldn't even understand the world of like, there's this long tail economy where we were in this world. I grew up, 4 TV stations, right? And then cable
Mhm.
came along. And why would we ever need that many channels? I don't know why we do now anyway, but then it's 600 channels. But it used to be, 3 media channels or a handful of business coaches or general business information. Every year that goes on, you're seeing it niche down more and more. Like you just said, there are ones specific for these different areas. And the more time goes on, the more we see this, that's where the benefit of finding somebody specifically for what you're looking for matters, not just a general life coach or general business coach, because that's just too broad, right? They could
Mhm.
be coaching somebody on how to run a brick and mortar ice cream shop, right? That is way different than what you might need in terms of clarity from your cleaning business. So the more tied into you are to your community, the more powerful your network is, the stronger those relationships and those referrals are going to be, because choosing from Google isn't the way I would do it. I would choose from word of mouth and from content that you believe in. Like when you're, Angela, like when you're putting out consistent, great content, right? That builds trust. When you also coach people and change their lives, those people will talk about you when you change their life.
Mhm.
So that's where I would start. It's like, hey, who in your industry do you trust that has maybe hired this type of person? Or who's creating content on a consistent basis, not over the last just 3 weeks and paying for ads for it, that you really resonate with their message? That's where I would start.
And along with what Vincent just said about finding the coaches in that area, that's where you also find the help. And the same is true. Instead of hiring one employee and hoping they'll do all the stuff, I've noticed as we've really narrowed down and become kind of a gig industry over the last couple of years, we can outsource different elements of our business to people who specialize in that one thing. I know that when I started a YouTube channel, one of the things that we wanted to do was we wanted to have transcriptions for all of the videos that we created. And those are the little words at the end of every video that allow you then to use closed captioning that translates that video into 191 languages. But I knew that I wasn't the person to sit there and type out every word of every video we created. And so instead of hiring an employee and having the employee then try to create a thumbnail and try to upload the video and create the closed captioning and all the things, what we did is we went to the gig economy and we found somebody that specialized in nothing but transcriptions. And so we paid them $8 and they would do the transcriptions. And then the next day we'd pay them $10 and then we would pay them $14 or $6 or however long the video was. And the only thing they ever did for us was the transcriptions. And so starting to think of, instead of me hiring a whole person to do a whole series of jobs that they kind of may be not very good at,
Mhm.
what is the one thing that I need to get off my plate right now? And can I hire somebody to do just that? And one of the things that I've discovered, and this comes up where when the going gets tough and I'm super stressed out as a business owner, I feel like I have to wear all the hats. The answer is no, you don't. No, you don't. They have Fiverr. If you don't know about Fiverr, Fiverr.com, it's a gig economy and there are a whole bunch of specialists and they do nothing but that one specialized task. And so for a little bit of money, you can hire somebody to do that one little bitty task and then you don't have to worry about it. And so my question is, what is it that's keeping you up at night? And then instead of having a clarity coach about here's how to get your business all crystal clear, my question to you is, what do you need to be clear about?
Mm.
And then write it down. And in my business, we do 15-minute segments. Every 15 minutes, stop and say, what am I doing right now? Am I the best person to be doing this task right now? And in our business, we do social media and we do marketing and advertising and inventory and cleaning and hiring and training and recruiting and all the things, right? You don't have to do it all. You can hire somebody to specialize in that one little tiny area, and then you can find a coach in that particular area to help you. Going back to what Vincent said, they have probably a whole network of people they could recommend. And you're going to find some really good people that specialize in that particular thing so you don't have to do it all yourself.
Totally. And what's really cool about what you said is like as I'm thinking as you're saying this, and I'm realizing what some of the people are struggling with, and you're saying hire a specialist. I think it's a twofold thing. I think if you hire a specialist while becoming a specialist, you're going to get things right. Meaning, if we're talking about the cleaning industry, because I've coached many cleaners on this as well. You can be a general cleaner in the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area, right? Now you're going to drive all over town. Your referrals are going to be tougher because, hey, one's up in Squirrel Hill, one's down in Bethel Park, and one refers you. Don't want to keep driving an hour and a half. What if you became a specialist of an area? Or what if you became a specialist of a certain type of house or building? When you can hone in on that neighborhood and you become known in that neighborhood, the referrals all come back to you because 5 or 6 of the people living there have used you, trust you. Now you're not going all over the place anymore. Maybe it's a certain income or house price that you work above. I'm not sure what it is, but the more you become a specialist in your own world, and like you're talking, like Angela's saying, you're hiring the specialist to do the things that you're not great at. Now you become known for something. You get and you know this, people pay more for a specialist. It's just the world that we live in. We don't pay as much for a generalist. So even within your own business, I've met many cleaners in this world that they're just taking whatever work can come in, as opposed to doing the hard work of saying, what am I specializing in? What am I the best at? What's my area? What do I know better than anybody else? How do I dominate a market? And I don't worry about being for everybody. I'm just for these people. You'll own it. And that will allow you to not only earn more, but to pay out the specialists like you're talking about.
Well, and along with having the specialty comes recommendations, because we know in the cleaning industry, excuse me, when you specialize in something like I clean houses for moms with new babies.
Yes.
What happens is people start thinking, well, wait a second, there's a lady 2 doors down that just had a new baby. And then there's a lady right around the corner that just had a new baby.
Referrals.
If you ask the question, who do you know who needs a house cleaner? Well, I can't think of anyone. Right.
Yeah.
But when you say moms with new babies, they start thinking about, well, I know a pregnant lady and she's due any day now. And I know this lady and that lady. And suddenly they have 3 referrals for you. And it's just a matter of them reframing and narrowing down on that niche. So,
And
yeah.
guess who moms with new babies hang out with? Other moms with new babies. I went to the mall just to write a couple of things about a month ago, and guess who was there right in front of me? About 11 moms with the baby strollers, and they were all doing their exercises. Guess what? Imagine if one of them was like, thank goodness. It's been driving me crazy. The house has been a disaster. We got this new cleaner. She literally specializes in moms with new babies. And the rest of them be like, what? Huh? Who's this? Can I get their number? Then all of a sudden 7 emails coming like, how did business just get so easy?
Well, and what's true about what Vincent's saying, and this is interesting, if they're hanging out at the dog park together, and you're talking about dog owners, or they're hanging out in the park together and it's moms with new babies, what's true about that is they all geographically live in the same place.
Yep.
We're not talking about people that drove 45 minutes so they could come hang out with the moms with new babies, right? These are neighbors. These are people that hang out together, and they do recommend each other. So if you've networked in on I clean houses for school teachers, what happens is they put your bulletin up in the break room at the school. And if you live in a school zone, you're going to get all the house cleaners that work at that school. And they all have something in common, and you're it.
That's it.
besides work. Yeah.
More referrals, less driving too. When you could do a geographic area, like we live in Lakewood Ranch here in Florida, and it's a really nice area. Where if you specialize just in this area, you're driving no more than 10 miles to any. It's easier than, there was one over in Siesta Key that called me. Now we got to drive 15 minutes in traffic. Specialize. It's. I think so many times it's not taught to do that. I think it's so important.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Jake Van Ness says, Vincent, can you talk more about your board of directors? How did you choose those individuals, and how many are on that board? Great question, Jake.
What's up, Jake? That's a great question. It's a hybrid for me. I have my own unofficial. Okay, I have a couple of versions of it. I have board of directors of people that don't even know they're on my board of directors. Like, there are people that I follow their work and I'll listen to them, and they are trusted people in my mind, even though I'm not personally connected to them, right? Maybe I'm that for somebody else as well. But I also have a group of people that have become trusted in my life over the last 5, 10, 15 years that I always know that I can go to them. Not only can I ask them a real question and get a real answer, but they can come to me for that too. And then I also have groups. I have groups that I join. I have groups that I run. And these are my people. The people that are willing to do, like I just mentioned, what I just described, but also the ones that are willing to invest in themselves. Like I run a mastermind. Jake's a part of our group. Awesome part of our group. But the people that are willing, this is not about the money part of it. It's about the willing to invest part of it. The amount of people that I've had come to me, I've written 2 books, and they're like, hey, can I get on a call with you and talk to you about your book? I want to learn about, they want me to, and I said, spent 2 years writing this book. So you can spend 3 hours reading it and distill all that time down. I'm a very generous person. I would imagine I would vote on myself, but I'm not going to spend an hour and a half on the phone talking about my book that you could read in 3 hours. That's why I wrote the book. Mm-hmm. Right. So people like that are not willing, like I'll give you a story. There's a friend of mine, Bill, he's just a fantastic guy. And he was telling me how he never waits in line when he goes to games. I'm like, what do you mean you never wait in line? He goes, time's too valuable. When I go to the stadium and he's Ohio State, I go to the stadium and I go, I'm not going to wait in line for 30 minutes and miss the game. Time is more valuable than money. So he will go to the front of the line. He'll ask the guy or the girl what they're getting. He'll say, hey, can I buy your food if you get me 2 hot dogs and a soda? And they're like, of course I'll do that. So every time he goes, it costs him a little bit more money, goes to the front of the line. He's very generous, pays for somebody's food, gets his food within 3 minutes. He's in his seat by kickoff. I'm like, that is a metaphor for life in so many ways. I join masterminds. I join communities. I do coaching because I want to pay to get to the front. I was in a mastermind with a guy named John Lee Dumas. He has a podcast called Entrepreneurs on Fire. Every week I get on a call with him and the group and we run through our issues and our problems. And I have somebody who's done all this stuff, who's been through the fire, who's figured it all out, giving me answers in real time to how I can solve it. I get off that call, I implement it for 2 hours, and life and business is better. Or I could have said, that's too expensive. I'm not spending that money. And I could have spent a year trying to figure it out, gotten an answer that I'm not even sure would be the right answer because it was just in my head. Or I can go to trusted resources, invest in that, and do so. So I have board of directors of people that I trust in my life, but also ones that I pay to be around. I pay to get to the front in the business world so I could be around people that are doing it, and it helps me get there so much faster.
And I want to add one thing to that for everybody that's on the call that's in the cleaning business and you're working by the job or by the hour. When you're working by the job or by the hour, your time is worth an equivalent of that hour. And I want you to start thinking in the house cleaning business, let me just throw out a number. Let me say you charge $65 an hour. Okay. I'm making this up. I don't know where you live and I don't know the houses that you clean. But if your time is worth $65 an hour, then every hour of your time should be treated as $65 an hour worth of your time. Okay. So if that's the case, then standing in line for a hot dog at a ball game is not worth $65 an hour. So if you can pay $25 and buy somebody else's hot dog and it advances you to the front of the line, that's a great way to invest that money to get your time back. Yep. And so be thinking in terms of how can I invest my money so that my time is worth more, meaning I get more value for the time that I'm spending. And then be very honest with yourself about the time that you're frittering away and wasting. What are you doing that for? And so when you start looking at, I spent an extra half hour visiting with a customer and yay, it was great and everything. And I do that every time I go clean their house, but you're not getting paid for that. What you're doing is enabling the customers to take advantage of you and you're devaluing your own time. And when you devalue your own time in front of your customers, they also devalue your time. And so you're not ever going to be able to charge them more. How do I raise my prices? Well, you raise your prices first and foremost by honoring your own time. Take it back, regain control. And then in Vincent's situation where people said, can I pick your brain? I hate that term, pick your brain. Can I pick your brain free for an hour or whatever? And then, you just give me your free advice. Instead of doing that, invest in someone. Say, can I buy you lunch? Can I buy you dinner? Can I pay your consulting fee? Can I have an hour of your time because I respect your time and I respect my own? What's going to happen is they will also respect your time and then they'll jump through hoops to try to help you. But when somebody says, "Can I pick your brain for free?" You're like, no, you don't value my time and you don't value your own. If you valued your own, you would have gone and read the book. And then when you come to me, you're coming back to me not with questions from my book. You're coming back to me with questions that were sparked from having read my book. And
Exactly.
now we have a different conversation. Now I want to have a conversation with you because now you're coming at me from a different place. Does that make sense? So if you're going to have a board of directors, my recommendation to you is be really keen on what it is you're looking for. And that goes back to the question about clarity. Be clear about what it is you're looking for. Be
Yep.
clear about your own focus and attention and your own time frame. So that when you do go to someone and you say, "Hey, I would love to have an hour of your time. How much do you charge? And can I invest in that?" Then make sure that not only are you just buying the time. Okay. This makes me so mad because I'm a really expensive coach and people will buy my time and then take absolutely no action to implement it. And that makes me really mad. Why did I just spend an hour of my time, even if you paid me and you're not going to implement it? So if you are going to pay somebody for for their time, try to implement what they gave you. Even if it doesn't work, try it. Try it and see if it works. Try it and then come back and say, "Hey, I tried it. It didn't work. I have different questions. And I tried it from this approach and it didn't work." Or I tried it and I need more information. What did I forget to ask you? What am I missing? Because now you have somebody, if you come back and you say, "I tried it," they're going to say, "Let me help you again," right? Somebody's going to invest in you because you invested in yourself.
Angela, it's the perfect way, what you're talking about, to build a network with high performing influencers. And here's why. If I go to somebody and I say, "Hey, I've been listening to your podcast for 3 years. You're the industry standard. I want to hire you, whether it's group or one-to-one. I want to hire you to do this. Now you're going to teach me what to do." Now, here's what, like you said, some people will never pay. Some people will pay, but they won't do the work. They won't take the action. Here's how you elevate in life: pay, do the work, take the recommendations, make it a success. Now go and make that a success. And now, after you make it a success, go back and give credit to the person that taught you. You know what that person that taught you is going to do? They are going to promote you from the rooftops with their major platform. Why? Because you are a success story in their program. And most people will not. So if you go through that whole process of actually investing in yourself, actually listening, actually taking the advice, doing the work, making it a success, and then saying, "The reason why I'm successful is this person. They guided me." That person who you didn't even know when you first paid them and you looked up to them and you were so admired, they're going to be like, "Come into my world. Let me put your testimonial on my website. Let me put the link to your business on my website because your testimonial is there showing that what I am doing is great." And now all these millions of people who are following you are going to see you on my website. They're going to see your face and your testimonial and your link to your business, and you are going to get such exposure. And then here's the fun part: all of their high profile friends who they run around with in their really expensive masterminds are all going to now see you on that level of where they're at, as opposed to where you first started at the very beginning. Most people, I hate to say it, don't get past that second stage of that. They would rather ask about a free coaching session or a pick your brain session because they don't want to spend money. And I was there, I get it. Then if they do it, like you said, they do it, but they don't do the work. They don't then go make it a success and then give credit and shout about it. They don't do that. Very few people do it, but the ones that do now go from a beginner to now an industry standard.
I love that. Oh, that's so good. One thing that I just heard Vincent say, and I want to hang on this for just a second because this is really important, and I don't want us to move on to the next topic without stopping on this. One of the things I just heard Vincent say was that you have to be humble enough to ask for help. And when you are going to a mentor and you're learning from them, you have to be willing to not like, "Well, I already know it all, therefore there's nothing from you I can learn." But I still need help. I'm still learning this. I'm new. I know that when I started my YouTube channel, I didn't want to start a YouTube channel. I did not start a YouTube channel because I want to be a YouTuber. I started a YouTube channel because I was trying, I had a life-changing, altering summer. We had a troubled teenager come live with us, and I had to sell my business because I had to work from home. She was suicidal. She was destructive. She stole stuff from my clients. I couldn't take her on jobs with me. She assaulted one of my clients. I couldn't leave her with my clients alone. I couldn't even take her in public. Okay. It was really disastrous. And I was like, this is not working for me at all. And I had to sell my business and work from home. I don't know about working from home. I never worked out of my house. I'm not on the internet. I don't have a YouTube channel. Like, how am I going to do this? And the quickest, fastest way to get where I was going was to have a YouTube channel and a podcast. And I didn't know how to do that. And when I started creating courses for house cleaners, I didn't know how to do that either. And so I would go into the groups, like there are Facebook groups where there are people who are, support groups for people like me. And I go and I'm like, guys, I need some help. I'm a middle-aged housewife and I know about house cleaning. And I have this picture on my courses and I'm trying to make these words move over here. And then like I draw a little arrow. I'm like, how do I do that? And they're like, it's the cleaning lady, right? And then they would take pity on me. They're like, she's asking questions. She's asking for, this piece of software like Canva. Canva can make you do this or whatever. And then they would give me tips and pointers. And then I would come back and I'm like, yay, it worked. And I get like clappy hands, like, yay, I learned something new. And they got so excited by watching me learn. Like, can you teach an old dog new tricks? And the answer is yes, you can. I'm living proof. I'm an old dog and I learned new tricks, right? But I kept going back and I kept saying, I learned and then I did it. Check it out. And they would look at my website and they're like, yay. And then I would come back and I would say, but now at the bottom, there's this weird thing and I don't know how to get rid of that. Here's a new picture and this I'm trying to make erase. I'm trying to get rid of it. How do I do that? And they're like, it's the house cleaning lady, right? And then they would take pride in helping me. And none of them were in my industry. None of them had anything to do with me. And none of them had nothing to gain. None of them would gain anything from helping me. And a whole bunch of people came to my aid and my assistance. And then we've become friends on the internet now. And we followed each other around in our different businesses. And all of our businesses are really different. You talk about how do you gain a mastermind of people that you want on your board of directors. You're going to collect people along the way that are of like mind. Just be who you are and be the best version and be humble about the person that you are. Because if you're willing to learn and then you apply it and then you go back and you're like, yes, I did it. And I learned, people are going to go, yay, good for you. I'm so happy for you. Right. And people are going to want to help you because that's human nature. We love helping other people who want help and who will implement it.
Absolutely.
But if people come to you and they help you and then you do nothing, you're wasting their time and you're wasting your own. So please don't do that.
Totally. And just shout out to Angela. Angela was a guest on our mastermind yesterday. And there were a handful of people that got to ask questions throughout. And at the end, I can guarantee you that if I flash that picture in front of Angela of everybody's face on the screen, the people she would point out most likely are the people that asked questions. Otherwise, she wouldn't. So I have a policy whenever I do anything, if I'm ever on a group call, if I'm ever at a conference, no matter where I'm at in life, I always try to sit as close to the front as possible, if not the front row. And I always ask a question. Always. I will not leave there without asking a question. Some of the greatest advances that I've had in my career over the last even just 10 years in front of people like Seth Godin, these different people because I stood up front and I asked a question, even when I was afraid. But I remember when I first connected with Seth Godin, I was at an event. I didn't even know what question I was going to ask, but I was like, I have to think of something. I have to ask a question. And through the challenge of thinking of what it would be, because I'm like, oh, I don't have a question. Everybody's like, I don't have a question. I thought of it. I had a question. That question led to a communication afterwards, which led to more communication, which led to him endorsing my first book, which was a huge.
Wow.
Only because I paid $1,000 for an event in New York City to go. It was a one-day Q&A. And I sat in the front and I asked a question. That question led to a conversation. The conversation led to a relationship, which led to the endorsement, which led to when the book was published, it was like his name was more important on the front than my name. I'm a first-time author. The amount of podcast guests and speaking gigs I got because people saw that book and saw his name as the endorsement was unbelievable, but would never have happened without that first question and doing exactly what you just said. So
I love that. Oh, I love that.
So Steve asked a question. Jake asked the questions. It's like you said, there comes a point as a teacher where there's nothing that matters more than the success of the people that you're teaching. more than the money, more than anything else. So when you see your people succeed, it's the greatest thing in the world. So you can't be helped if you don't ask the questions. That's the way I view it.
I want to take this for a second before we move on, because we keep getting ready to move on. I'm like, but wait, there's more goodness here.
More.
Somebody asked the question about how do you pick up new business, and specifically from the cleaning industry. And I want to hang on that for a second, because just what we're talking about right now, when you ask your current customers as if they were the cleaning expert, like, well, how are you cleaning this bathroom shower now? They're going to start telling you how they're cleaning it. But the reason they're hiring you is because what they're doing is not working.
Mhm.
But what happens is this, and I want to be very clear about this. If I'm a house cleaner and I come to your house and I just spout off my reasons for doing things, and this is how I clean, that is my data. But if I get the customer involved and I say, how are you cleaning your shower floor now? Suddenly they start talking, and that is their data. People never argue with their own data. So if they will tell you what they're using right now, and they will tell you how often they're cleaning their shower floor, and they'll tell you what they're using, that's their data. Now we have to know just by walking through this logically, but it's not working because here I am and they're trying to hire me to come redo what they're doing, right? But that's their data. So suddenly they've given you all the reasons why you have to come in and do the job. So we talk about how do you close the sale? We close the sale on their data. They're going to give us all the reasons why this is how I do it. And this, I tried this, and then I tried this, and I tried this, and it didn't work. And then you say, if we were to do something differently, what would you like to see? I'd like to see this whole floor be clean and no mold or no soap scum or whatever. Okay, great. I can help you with that. And so now what you're doing is you're taking their data. Do you mind if I tweak it a little bit and we try a couple different things? You've guaranteed them nothing, but what they know is they tried all the things and it didn't work. So now they're willing to hire you, and you've just asked their permission. Will you let me try a couple of things, and we'll see if together we can't get this looking 100%. Now, when you go to close the deal, instead of them going, oh, that's just too much money, which they're trained to do, right? They're now an alliance partner with you because you've asked their permission to take their data, what they've already tried. We don't want to defame them and say, well, obviously that didn't work, right? We want to say, hey, you've tried this and that was a great effort. I really appreciate you trying that. Thank you for sharing that with me. Do you mind if we tweak that a little bit? And together, now together is you're going to come in and do the rest of it, but you're taking their information, you're marrying it with your information. And now with their permission, you're now their new house cleaner. And now together, you're going to get the results they're looking for, right? So it's working with their data. And now what happens is they go out, their shower now will look amazing. And they're going to go out and tell all their neighbors and their friends that they took their data, worked with the house cleaner, and whoa, they got fantastic results, right? Those are the people that are going to recommend you. All right, moving on. We got another question that came in from Michael. And he says, what is the timeline of progress when you first started your company until you got it and became very profitable?
This is for me.
Yeah.
We've had multiple businesses. I imagine you're talking about the first one or the current.
Oh, heck, just give us any business. Tell
Okay.
us, because every entrepreneur asks the question, how long am I learning? And when is the moment where I got it?
Depends. You know, it's like a lawyer answer. The answer is always depend. It depends. You know, it depends on the circumstances. But for me, our first business was the photography business. Nothing what we're doing now. But I was a photographer. That's what I went to school for. That's what I freelanced for in New York before I went back to college. We saw a hole in the industry while being desperate. So our story was this. I was actually probably the top sports photographer in the country at one moment, one international sports photographer of the year. So, which you can give me applause, but I was making $32,000 a year and I was stressed. It's one thing to have a plaque on the wall. It's another thing to have a wife that's 8 months pregnant with your first child and you're making 32 grand a year. And at the same time, you're winning the biggest award in the industry. It was kind of a little bit empty. So I went to my boss because we're having a baby and I win all these awards and this was going to be my big pay increase, right? So if it was 10%, I would have been thrilled. Looking back, I laugh thinking about it. I would have been absolutely thrilled. And he said, you've done everything we've asked of you. You've went above and beyond, but we can only give you 3%. I remember just this rush of like heat in my body. Like, I can't raise a child on this. My wife wants to stay home. She was working, she wants to we didn't want to put him in daycare right away, especially. What do I do? And I went home and I called my dad because I was lost. I mean, truly lost. And so my dad had his own business. So I'm thinking, okay, I could work for him a little bit. This is before we ever started. This is literally how our first business started. I could work for him for a little bit, just making some money for diapers and formula. That's all I was thinking about. And so I asked him if I could work in his business. He was in New York. We were in Indiana at the time. And he said no. So I'm sitting there on my bed and I'm like, this is the worst day ever. I get a 3% raise for being international sports photographer of the year. And my dad is turning me down for work. Like, I can't even work with him. But then he said something that changed my life. He said, I've been trying to tell you this for years. You haven't listened. Maybe you're going to listen now. Because I was kind of stubborn and arrogant. And
aren't we all at times?
Aren't we all? Yes. Me more than others many times. He said, you have a skill, but you're not using it correctly. Those words changed my life. I was like, all right, what do you mean? What do you mean by that? And I want to blow past that. What do you mean? And he said, you've become a really good photographer over the last 6 years. You weren't in the beginning. You worked really hard, but you've become a really good one. Now you're acclaimed and you're doing great work, but you're settling. And when your dad tells you you're settling, that's a hard thing to hear. You're settling for $32,000 a year in benefits. So what do you mean settling? He said, you could do anything you want. You could shoot weddings. You could shoot corporate work. You could shoot commercial work. You can teach. You can write a book. You can do anything you want to do. And you're settling for $32,000 a year in benefits. And I was like, what do I do with that? So I'm like, we're going to start a business. Because I'm like, for 3 years, people had asked us if we shot weddings, but we're too good to shoot weddings. We're journalists in our minds. The journalists were too good for that. We don't shoot hokey weddings. But then I realized at the newspaper, we would get phone calls from people saying, hey, does anybody there shoot weddings? I'm like, no, I'm a journalist, right? I'm not doing that. But then I started realizing there's these people in our town, we were in Indiana, that were making $4,000 a wedding. This is 2004. They're making $4,000 and they're not nearly as experienced as we are. They've been shooting for 2 years. I've been shooting for 7 years. And I'm like, wait a second. And then I started doing the numbers. And then the next time the phone rang, somebody said, did anybody shoot weddings? I said, yes, we do. We didn't even have a portfolio. I pulled out pictures from our newspaper assignments that had weddings in it and created a little wedding portfolio. And within a month, we booked our first $3,000 wedding. And then I went to the bathroom and I was like, I'll never forget looking at the wall, be like, wait a second. If I did 12 of those a year, that would be as much money as I make as the both of us. No, 2 a month would be as much as we both make, Elizabeth and I combined. 1 a month would be the same amount of money, more take-home pay than I get working 22 days a month at my job.
And traveling.
And traveling and the stress and all the wear and tear and in my car. Literally, I could drive to one
and
location.
Standing in the rain, taking pictures at those games. I've heard your podcasts.
Oh, but doing news assignments and getting yelled at by the residents because you're not, all this stuff. And so we said, this is what we're going to do. So we had a lot of growing pains in the first year, but we literally figured out so quickly. We had a skill that we weren't using correctly. We used it in the same equipment, same skill set, same mindset. One earned me $92 a day. One within 6 months earned me $4,000 a day. Same exact thing. So our business, it became profitable pretty quickly. Within 14 months, it was a 6-figure business, not knowing business, but we had a skill set that we were able to transfer. And I think a lot more people have skill sets that they can transfer in different ways. It might not be the actual work you do, but it might be your communication. You might be able to relate to people on such a close level because you're just personable that you will get clients over everybody else. People don't realize their own skill sets that they have. Maybe you're analytical, whatever it is, use it in your industry to your advantage and own it. So if you can connect with people, if you can be personable and remember people's names and smile and connect people together and not just going to a wedding, but also be able to suggest, hey, if you put this over there, the lighting is going to be better because of the window. They go, you're awesome. Here's what else we did. We went above and beyond, especially in the beginning. We always did this, but What we learned was this. Here's how you stand out in your own industry, at least for us. We noticed in the wedding photography industry that the standard, now in the cleaning business, there might be a standard that you go by. This is what everybody does. Well, we said, screw the standards. We're going to do it our way. We're journalists. So every wedding photographer in our town would show up right before the bride got the dress on, and they would wait until, the reception starts and all the fun dancing starts. After about 2 or 3 songs, all looks the same. They pack up and they leave. They go home and watch whatever TV show's on. They want to be done for the night. And we said, baloney. No, a wedding is a true story. And I remember our wedding, and it started early, mimosas or whatever it is, girls hanging out before the dress came on. And it ended at the end, because the last moment from our wedding was great. Everybody was in a circle. They were dancing and singing, but the photographers are never there for that. So we said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to tell a story, a true story, start to finish, to one price. Here's what it is. There's no add-on, hours. Here's what it is. And we are going to give the best story you could ever see in photographs. That was our motto. Well, what happened is this. Yeah, we would work a couple extra hours than everybody else. But what happened was, at the end of the night, and the lights went on in the ballroom, and the mom and the bridesmaids and the bride noticed that we were still there, and we were standing on chairs up in the balcony getting these pictures of, they started crying, literally crying, like, I cannot believe you're still here. The sister would be like, my photographer left at 7:00. You were here till 11. We would have bridesmaids come up to us on the dance floor and be like, we're booking you for a wedding. How do we book you right now? We would literally get deposits. No joke. Checks written out when they weren't planning on doing it for the deposit for their wedding 9 months later. That's how we stood out in the industry, by doing what other people weren't willing to do. So I think that's transferable to any industry. If you're willing to use your strengths and go and do what the other people in your standard industry aren't doing.
There are 2 things that Vincent just said, and I want to highlight both of those before we move on, because I don't want to miss them. The first thing that he said, and it's the second thing that he said, was do things that other people are not willing to do. And because he was willing to spend a little bit of extra time, maybe it was a lot of extra time, he was able to pick up a whole lot of business by building that know, like, and trust factor within people who wanted what he was offering. In the house cleaning business, it's a little bit different, because either you're bidding by the entire job or you're bidding by the project. And so you might not be able to give all the goods for the same price. So your pricing strategy might be a little bit different. But what I hear Vincent saying is, if you're willing to do what other people are not willing to do, you will have no lack of business, right? Which is what he did for his business in a new industry, where he took something that he knew, he took his skills, he tweaked them a little bit, and then he made that his income. And then he was willing to do what other people were not willing to do. From the time they said, nah, we don't do weddings, like, that's below us, to saying, I'm going to be the best photographer at weddings that I can be. And so he embraced that, and he leaned into it instead of leaning against it. Or instead of, in his mind, he's kind of like, oh, I'm too good for this or whatever. He embraced that, and that became the essence of his business. So I love that. The second thing that I want to bring up that Vincent mentioned was be willing in your business, because when he was taking the pivot for him, and this goes back to the pivot we were talking about earlier, where when he was going from this is the skill that I've always done to we don't do weddings, there was this maybe glitch in his mind, not that weddings were bad, but that it wasn't quite what he wanted to do. And this is true in the cleaning business, where people will say, I've got all this clutter in my house. We're like, we don't pick up clutter. Like, that's not what we do. We're just cleaners. Why don't you instead do exactly what Vincent just recommended and create a package where you do, in fact, pick up clutter? In the cleaning business, we have what's called the Mommy's Helper package. And there's no cleaning at all. It's doing exactly that. It's doing what other house cleaners are not willing to do, where you go in and you say, we'll show up every single day for 45 minutes to 1 hour. And we will drop by and we'll put away the breakfast dishes and we'll wipe off the kitchen counter. We'll take the laundry out of the dryer and we'll fold it and put it away and put the next load of laundry in the wash. By the time we leave, we're ready to take that out and put that in the dryer and hit dry before we leave. But they'll take the dishes out of the dishwasher and put those up in the cupboard. They'll take the dishes out of the sink and put those in the dishwasher. They go through the bathrooms and they hang up the towels that are on the floor, or they throw them in the hamper. And then they tidy up, pick up clothes and shoes and stuff, pick up around the house. They're not doing any cleaning at all. We're not sweeping and mopping floors. They're not cleaning out toilets. They're not doing any of the maintenance cleaning. They're just tidying up because other cleaners are not willing to do it. And for $55 to $65 a day for that one 45-minute to 60-minute window in the morning, they drop by every day, same house, every day, every day, every day. They've picked up an extra $300-$400 a week from doing the Mommy's Helper package alone. So I hear a lot of house cleaners saying, well, no one's hiring, or they already have a house cleaner. Did you know you can sell a Mommy's Helper package to a house cleaning company or a family that already has a house cleaning person that comes to their house, but their house cleaner does not do that. Therefore, they will hire you to do the Mommy's Helper package. And then guess what? The same thing is true. After you've been doing it for a minute at their house, they're going to go, wait a second, your service is fantastic. Why do I have this other company coming in when you also offer that service, right? So lean into those weird little uncomfortable things that you're like, I don't declutter. And a lot of house cleaners do. I know because we run one of the largest Facebook groups on in house cleaning, right? And I hear it all the time, like, I'm just going to like vacuum around your clutter. Why? If people have clutter, offer them a package. Make it worth their time for you to come in every day. And as you're growing your business, hire somebody new to come in and just do the Mommy's Helper packages. Get 5 Mommy's Helper packages on one street and just have the person do 1 hour and then the next hour and the next hour and the next hour, and their whole entire day is just helping that little section of the neighborhood. The word gets out so fast, and you'll be hiring more people and more people and more people, and you can fill in the gaps of your business with figuring out these little tiny projects that other house cleaners are not willing to do.
Totally. And one more thing to add. You keep doing one more thing.
I know.
Do not be afraid to embrace this even within your website and your social media. What we did to take advantage of this. So what we did, Angela, was to what you're talking about in our industry. We realized it was the last hour of the wedding that stood out. So we sat down, like, let's do a thing on the website called the last hour. So we made a tab at the top of our website and said the last hour, and it was essentially all of those amazing pictures that happened just in the last hour of a wedding that no other photographer was getting because they were leaving. And brides were hiring us because of that. And it forced our entire industry of our town to change the way they did business. And they got mad at us because they were like, now we got people wanting us to stay later because of the pictures that you're doing. But that got us for 2 years, elevated work, and it jumped us to not only the top of our industry, but the highest price point too, because we had a specific group of people that we're going towards. So we didn't just do it, we did it, and we're thrilled to highlight it within our own platform to show why we're different.
Well, and one of the things about that, being willing to create the new norm, is what happens is you are the industry expert then. And everybody starts turning their head going, oh, there's Vincent and his company, and they're doing something that we're not doing. And if we're going to compete, we have to do the last hour. Like, drat Vincent, he just changed the new norm.
Yep.
And that leads us to our next question, which is, how do you build a business with so much competition? And how do you transition from solo cleaning to hiring someone? So I want to talk about the competition for a second, because there's competition in every industry, and yet there isn't, because there's only one version of you, and you do you better than anyone else. And so I love the fact that I get asked all the time, oh, there's so much competition in my area. There is, and then there isn't, because no one can do you like you can. Vincent, tell us about competition.
That I love this question because you're right. Every industry has it, no matter where you go. We'll beat it, to death. But the idea of niching down in this space is essential, right? You can say there's competition in coaching until you go, okay, well, there's life coaching. Wait, there's business coaching. Wait, there is business coaching for 6-figure entrepreneurs. Wait, there's business coaching for 6-figure entrepreneurs that want to build a membership. Oh, wait, there's every bit that you go down, you eliminate just about everybody else because the competition isn't doing that. And if you can't decide on that, and the problem with niching down is people just have a hard time because they're so afraid of losing out on clients. They're so afraid of losing on potential clients, where they don't realize there's competition in the cleaning industry, as broad as you can get in terms of a term in business, the cleaning industry. Give me a little bit more, tighten it up. Cleaning industry where? Doing what? Doing what? How specific? How are you different? When you, like you said, there's only one you. There's only one way that you're doing things. If you're doing things the way everybody else is doing things in the same manner with no differentiator, yeah, you're going to be in that realm of people that are struggling because you're just in a sea of sameness. You have to sit down and figure out what the things that differentiate yourselves. What do you do differently? Is it the way that you communicate? Are you quicker in responding to people? Do you go out of your way in terms of customer experience that other people don't do? Whatever it is that you do better. Maybe there's a certain style of cleaning, I don't know, that you might do that other people don't do. Whatever it is that you stand out with, you have to take that, you have to own that, and you have to 10x that part of it. And you need to own, now you don't have competition, because if there's a certain style that you do and you do it in a certain manner and you have these standards to your business and you do it this way, you're not in the cleaning industry anymore. You are in this specific niche of the cleaning industry. And then hey, these are only the people that I work with, right? These are the type of people. That's how
I have to interrupt right there because Vincent just said something really important and I don't want us to miss it. He said, you're not in the cleaning business anymore. And that is true when you realize, and this happens in every cleaning business, when you realize I'm not in the cleaning business at all. I'm in the people business, and I also happen to clean, right? And so when your differentiation becomes, I've learned about people, I've studied about people, I can read people, I can understand the nuances when the energy in a home shifts, and I can tell they've just been fighting before I get there. And now I have to come in with a different sensitivity than I had when I came in to just, oh, get out of my way, I'm cleaning, right? Now you have to be sensitive to somebody who's there and maybe they're in tears and they need a couple of moments by themselves. You start in a different room of the house, right? You're in the people business and you happen to also clean. And so I love the fact when we're talking about cleaning and what is the competition, and the competition is true in every business. There will be competition, but are you competing with apples to apples? And I say this because I can take a hamburger and fries and I can put it on a little red and white paper platter. And I can charge $7 or $8 for that. And people go, yeah, that's a great value. I can take that same hamburger and fries and I can put it on a glass plate on a cloth tablecloth. And I can charge $28 for the exact same hamburger and fries because it's presented differently and it has a different appeal to a different audience. So when we talk about competition, what are you competing with? We have in parking lots, we have like a McDonald's, for example, and that is not going to be the same audience as the Cheesecake Factory, for example. It's two completely different audiences at two different price points, two different budgets. And while the food is different, the meal is the same, one meal or two meals a day for that person, right? Somebody's going to go eat lunch and they're going to choose one or the other. They're still going to eat. And so therefore, a lot of people will say, well, why would you think that there's even business at a restaurant if people can cook food by themselves at home? Well, I don't know. That's a great question. Why don't we all eat at home only ever and never go out to eat again? But people are willing to pay a lot of money to go out to restaurants now because they're looking for an experience. And so why would people hire a cleaner if you can clean your own home? Well, the answer is a lot of people do clean their own home, but people will hire you because they want an experience. So when you're talking about competition, what are you competing against? And are you providing the McDonald's experience? Or are you providing the Cheesecake Factory experience? The reason I ask is because if you're not sure, guess what? You do have a problem with competition.
Absolutely.
And so you have to be crystal clear about what you offer, what your price point is, and what is the experience that you are providing to your customer. Because your customer will pay you based on the experience you provide. Now, it's also true. The same person, the same exact person that eats at the Cheesecake Factory one day might also go to McDonald's, right? And so we asked ourselves, why would someone kick me out and go hire a cheaper cleaner? Good question. Did you give them reason to come back to you? Or did you give them reason to go look for the cheaper burger? What's the answer? So if we take that in terms of cleaning, you got to be crystal clear about what it is you're selling. And until you know, you can't sell it. And until you know, no one else can sell it for you.
Nope.
So make your sales pitch so crystal clear that you know exactly what you're selling, to whom you're selling, what is the experience you're trying to provide, and make it easy enough that any customer that you've ever worked for can turn around in their own words and tell any of their friends, and their friends buy from you that experience.
Totally. And you don't just want to, I think sometimes people can feel overwhelmed thinking they have to do everything. You don't have to do everything to stand out. Think about something like DoubleTree hotels. When you think DoubleTree, what do you think of? Angela, I mean, I'm not sure if you stayed. When you think of DoubleTree, is there anything that comes to mind?
I think of a suite.
Okay. What they're mostly known for is when you go there, you get chocolate chip cookies. You get fresh baked chocolate chip cookies. Now they don't, and that's the first thing. Every time I go, I'd be looking forward to the cookies, right? They don't say, okay, we're going to give you cookies, and then the next thing you're going to get, free massage, and then they're not trying to do everything. They're known for something, and you could be known for one thing. And like, how many times, does a cleaner do a job and then maybe send a note saying thank you for having me, be your client. Thanks for being your client. How often do people do little personal things for their clients to stand out? I think there's little things that you can do that can just, and I'm sure you have examples within your own industry of people that just do a certain little thing, a certain little touch that makes people remember who you are. That will keep retention and get you jobs more than anything you can imagine. If you just take one thing and make something a signature response that you do that other people don't do.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm going to share something with you that I don't think I've ever shared on a mastermind or a podcast or even a YouTube video before. And I'm glad you brought it up. But we have a checklist that we use, and it's a very popular checklist, and it goes through all the rooms of the house, da, 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 da. There's a little space at the bottom, and it's only just a little bit of white space at the bottom. And I leave that for me. And at the end of every job, every single job, I take my ink pen, because it's in my apron, and I write the words, "Thank you for your business." And then under that, "I appreciate you." And then Angela, and I sign it. Knowing that lots of house cleaners don't say thank you for the business, but I do appreciate their business. The next thing I know is right next to that note, wait a second, check it out. It's my QR code. And if you look at the QR code and you happen to scan it, it takes you to my website where you've got all the stuff that we do for a living. And all of our training and certification. And our ratings and reviews and all the goodness that's going to validate why you hired us in the first place. And I happen to know, because I planted seeds when I did my walkthrough, that I said, I'm going to leave one of these worksheets with you every time I come to clean. Knowing that you're probably going to get a whole stack of them. But here's the thing. When a neighbor asks you, hey, who do you use as a house cleaner? You're just going to come inside and you're going to get them one of your old worksheets. You're going to say, this is the lady that I use, and here's all of her contact information at the top, right? And I plant that seed so that when they do give that to their neighbors, that the neighbor at the bottom, and it says, thank you for the business. Now they know how I treat the customer. They know the services that we offer. Oh, wait, that QR code is still there, right? It's my best sales and marketing approach. But that little tiny handwritten note, thank you, I appreciate you, is at the bottom in handwriting. So we've got all of the printed stuff, but in handwriting in my blue ink. And I've signed each one of my my checklists, because I was there. I took pride in my work, and I'm leaving saying I inspected my work. And you can count on it being 100% perfect. There will be no callbacks from today's work. I did my best. And you would be amazed. We live in a thankless world.
Yep.
And you mentioned how many house cleaners leave a thank you note. We live in a thankless world. People work really hard all day. Nobody thanks them. Nobody appreciates their work.
So true.
So if somebody came in and said, hey, wait a second, I appreciate your business. What? You're the house cleaner. I appreciate you. You don't appreciate me. Oh, yes, I do. Because you paid my car payments, or you paid for my braces, or you paid for my kids' education, or you paid for whatever it was, right? I do appreciate you. Yep. And I think that's so overlooked in every industry. I mean, I really appreciate you bringing that up.
I think it would change retention rates in every business. The amount of people I know that won't go back to restaurants, leave memberships, leave masterminds because there's just zero appreciation or even communication of like, how are you doing? Just a personal reach out. It is so undervalued in this, and it takes so little time. We're all buried on our phones, but we're all forgetting to respond back to messages. But they're right on our phones. Oh, I'm busy. It's right in your phone. It comes in, you swipe past it while you're watching the video. Whereas if you just thank them or just check in with them, if I can tell you from, we talk subscription, memberships, stuff like that, that's my world. The ones that I have left, if there was a message somewhere within there, just checking in and just thanks. Hey, thanks for being a part. Thanks for the comment that you left. Thanks for coming. When I thought to cancel, I'd probably be like, no, I'm sticking around a little bit longer. I was appreciated as opposed to I'm just another number. And I think that's right there to that question. That's how you stand out.
Well, speaking of appreciation, we have so many folks that have joined us today that have said really kind comments. Yes, that's me. I help people and I will. Extra personal like helps. We've got Steven Severson saying, great insights. Thanks for doing this. We have Priscilla that says, I just love you too. This is life coaching on level. I love this. You guys have just said so many nice things today, and I appreciate you jumping in. Alex says, I think to offer my clients water before cleaning or in the middle of cleaning, especially when I'm cleaning a business and cleaning during business hours, then I discreetly start back cleaning again. I love that. That's just going the extra mile and helping a little bit. Yeah. So thank you guys for your notes and your comments. We've got a really great turnout here today, and I appreciate you being here with us. I know a lot of you have submitted your questions in advance, so I want to get to as many of those as we can. We're going to go as fast as we can from now through the end and answer your questions. If you have new questions or if what we're saying triggers a new question, go ahead and throw that in the notes. Add a cue to the front of it so that we can pick it out real quick and we don't miss it. One of the questions said, what are some marketing ideas to grow new clients? And this is from Jamie C. I'll let you take that one, Vincent.
Yeah, it depends on, right? It's a general, I always go, it's my answer almost to everything. Like I love specifics in terms of marketing. And what I think Angela does with YouTube is brilliant in terms of marketing. It's a thing that we have not played around with until Angela kind of really kicked me in the butt to get moving on it. And so I can't speak to that because that's all new to me. I wrote a book called The Wealth of Connection, and I don't consider myself a marketer in so many ways. And some people might push back on that. What we were just talking about is the heart of what I do. We've built every business through relationships, and it's never been through viral posts. It's never been through paid advertising. It's always been take the smallest amount of people possible that you can serve, over deliver on them, and then let them talk about you. And that's always been our approach. That was the approach from the very beginning with weddings. That was with photography. When we shifted to this industry, now we run masterminds and memberships and communities for entrepreneurs, and then now on to memberships. And it's always been that way. So we're kind of limited in the. I think Angela would laugh at my marketing techniques because it's so caveman-like, because we're not doing all this crazy amounts of content. Like, we're starting to build that up. But we've been six figures and beyond every year we've been in business, and we never spend money on advertising. We never spend money on marketing. Marketing to me is relationships. That's what it is to me. Marketing to me is really serving the relationships that you have and the clients that you have. And if you can keep in touch and over deliver with your clients, if you can keep in touch with potential clients, if you can keep in touch with just friendships, if you can give thank yous, if you can give compliments all across the board, I can't even tell you how many times I sent a personal message and they'd be like, I was just talking to somebody that needs what you do. How do I? Oh yeah, here's the link. It's almost like I consider myself the Mr. Magoo of business. I walk around and I'm kind of clueless and I'm falling off the cliff, but I'm always walking forward and things always seem to work out. And it's not some grand plan of how do we get all these people onto the list. It really is how do we do the work that we love doing? How do we over deliver on that work? Be passionate about whatever it is that we're doing and do work that people talk about. That's, I think 70% of business comes from word of mouth is the latest stat that I heard. I remember listening to a podcast. It was a podcast guru, and he was talking about 75% of podcasts are found through word of mouth. He blew past that line and spent 59 minutes talking about all these other marketing techniques. And I was like, you just said that 3/4 of this was word of mouth, but now you're going to tell me about these obscure little marketing things that at best are a percentage of 25%, where how about we focus on word of mouth? So that's
I have to tell you about word of mouth, and word of mouth can be self-created. And I laugh because there was a guy out in the street and he was pressure washing one of the neighbors' yards. at the driveway. And so my husband went out there, ran down a couple houses and said, "Hey, can you give me a quote on my driveway before you leave?" And so the guy drives up and he's finished with his job now. He drives up, knocks on the door, and he said, "Hey, I would love to give you a quote on the driveway. Can both of you come outside and show me what your priorities are?" And I
Mm.
said, "Sure, it's going to take just a second." So we both go outside. Now he'd met us both. My husband left and went to work or something. And the guy stays and he said, "I have time right now." I said, "Great, do it right now." So he stayed and he did the job. So when he was done with the job, I went out and I said, "How much do I owe you? And, do I need to sign anything or whatever?" And before he answered my question, he went and he stood by his truck, and his truck said pressure washing on the side, and it had his phone number and everything. And he puts his arm up on the side of the truck and he kind of like strikes a pose. And he says, "Is this where you want me to stand for my picture that you're going to post on Nextdoor to tell people that I was here at your house?" And I said, "That's perfect." And he was like kind of standing there against his truck so you could still see the name of his business and then his phone number and whatever. And he didn't ask me, "Are you going to post a rating and review?" He didn't say, "Did you like my service?" He said, "Is this where you want me to stand for my picture that you're going to post on Nextdoor?" And then I was like, perfect. So I take a picture with my phone, right? And then he says, "You are on Nextdoor, right?" And I said, "Oh, yes, absolutely," as I'm posting it to Nextdoor. And he said, "So great news." He said, "If you're posting that, I'd like to say thanks, and I'd like to give you a slight discount before you give me the payment." And I was like, wow, like I got a discount, right? I don't know if he marked his prices up and then just said it was a discount. I don't know.
Didn't
But he
matter.
gave me a slight discount as I'm posting, like, absolutely, I'm going to post for you, right? Leaving him a great rating and review. Here's the guy, here's a picture, here's the name, here's his phone number, here's all the things. And he made it easy for me to do it. It didn't sound begging like, "Hey," and it wasn't after the fact, like 2 weeks later when I forgot that he was there. The guy came out of nowhere. He did the job right there on the spot. I don't know if he did a good job or not. I mean, it looked nice. I mean, yay.
Yeah.
But I loved his approach. And so we can do something similar in our business where we are taking the exact moment and we are creating those word of mouth moments. And I want to highlight this question along with another question we had that came in because Jamie, that was a great question. What are some marketing ideas to get new clients? And I want to tag it with this one. How can I increase sales through social media? The social media, and we've done this a lot in the cleaning business, but what we do is we call it attaboys. Now, if somebody were going to give you a pat on the back, it's like, "Attaboy, you did a great job," right? So what we do is don't repeat this. This is going to sound so arrogant, but we give ourselves attaboys.
Mm.
And we have somebody on our team that's in charge of the attaboy program.
Mm.
So what happens is this: when someone takes a course in our business, and we use this for every facet of our business, regardless of what business we're in. When somebody takes a course in our business, they say, "Hey, check it out. I got my certificate." All right. Congratulations. You got the certificate for taking this course. Now you know how to read the pH scale in the cleaning chemical course. And then when we post that on our social media, we got the person standing there with their certificate. And what happens is now you know how we gave a feature of the product that they benefited from. And people are like, "Oh, they got a certificate for chemical safety." Like, I didn't know house cleaners were supposed to have that. And so now they click the link because now they're thinking, maybe I should take that course as well. The next person that takes the exact same course, "Congratulations, Jennifer. You just took the chemical safety course and now you know how to read safety data sheets." And they're like, "Whoa, I saw the one about the pH and I didn't buy, but now you got safety data sheets." Like, I didn't know about that either. So we create the fear of missing out through this complimentary attaboy program where we're giving out attaboys to someone else that used our service while we add in one feature of our own. So if you're doing this in the cleaning business, you take a before and after picture and you might only post the after picture, right? "Congratulations, Mrs. Peterson. You now have the cleanest bathroom on the house. And now you can tidy up in between jobs by using just, I don't know, the wipe it with a damp microfiber cloth method." And so now all of a sudden they're like, "Whoa, I I can't clean my whole bathroom with a damp microfiber cloth. Like, I'm missing something. I better hire this cleaning company, right? But you give your customer the attaboy. Congratulations, Mr. Jones, you now have the cleanest kitchen on the block thanks to this, that, or the other, right? And you add in features of your service. Because we cleaned your pantry today, it's going to be another 3 months before you got to go through and pull out all your old food. Oh, I didn't pull out all my old food or my expired food. Maybe I better hire that cleaning company, right? And so what we do is we call the Attaboy program, where instead of us bragging about us, hey, buy our service, you're going to get 3 hours of your time back this weekend, or enjoy the things you love, hire our cleaning service. What we're doing is we're highlighting what they already have. We're highlighting their success already. We're highlighting their achievements. And then we're adding in one feature or one benefit that they got as a result from working with us. Now they can do this. Now they know this. Now they're different this way, right? And then people are like, my cleaning company doesn't do that. And now they have to hire you. So I would use that for social media that way. We call it the Attaboy program.
Love that.
All right. How do you keep the office clean when you share it with many others? This is a good question. You want to take that, Vincent?
No.
Okay. Well, I'll take it then.
I thought you were talking about like cleaning an office. I'm like, I am not the expert. Are you talking about my office? You're talking about clean? Like I'm confused. That's why I said no. How do you keep
the office clean when you share it with many others? So I will take this one. We do have in my home office, I've got 10 employees that come and they work out of my house every day. And so how do I keep it clean? I start with it being clean. And I start with it being clean. Don't tell anybody this, but I mean, they're expecting it to be clean when I come because of who I am. And I'm afraid that at any moment, my employees are going to like take a picture of their smartphone and go, check out Angela's bathroom or check out her kitchen. So I set up in my schedule, I do what I call sweeps. And we do sweeps in the business, and we do sweeps, literal sweeps of the location. And sweeps is not like sweeping a floor, but it's like I'm going to move through this area and I'm going to do the same routine every single day. And so my sweeps for my office to keep everything clean is at the top of every single day. I start at one area of the house that the employees will be in, and that's the kitchen, the entryway, the dining room. Then we've got a great big conservatory that's nothing but windows. We've got all the tables and chairs and offices and computers and everything in there for the people that work out of the house. It's also a media hub for the people that work out of the house, that leave and they go on site to customers' homes. They can come in and check their email. They can do their online training. They can sit there and have a cup of coffee. We got a coffee bar. I want them to feel at home in the space that we have here that we call our office. And so what happens is every single day from top to bottom, it takes me about an hour, and I go through and I wipe everything down. I restock all of the supplies on the coffee bar. I clean the toilets and I wipe down all the high touch areas at the top of every single day. Because when they arrive, I want them to arrive every day feeling like this is a brand new space. And this is how I'm going to start my day. And I expect that when they leave, they're going to leave it in the same condition that they found it in. And so all day, every day, I mean, not during the time that they're here, but any crumbs that have fallen on the floor, I wipe up the crumbs, I clean out the refrigerator. And when I restock everything, I make sure everything is neat and tidy so that when they arrive for the day, that sets the tone for them to then go out in the workplace. Either they're working from here or they're working out in the workplace. They're going to take that with them to all of the jobs that they go on. I don't want them to arrive and everything is stressful and it's in a mess and stuff is haphazard and whatever, and then expect them to go out and create something different in a customer's home. Okay. I want them to show up and go, oh, this is what we're doing now. And then when they turn around and they go out, whatever they're doing for the day, this is what we're doing now. It's organized, it's routine, and it is 100% what they're going to expect every single time they show up. And the reason for that is I've never had a problem hiring people ever. And I have a wait list of people who want to come work with us. And we don't pay the most amount of money and we're not the best place to work, but there's a consistency. And it is absolutely undeniable. So that when people show up for their jobs, they know exactly what's going to happen when they walk in. There's a certain company culture that happens every single morning. And how do you keep it clean? You keep it clean because you respect the space that you're in. And when you respect it, other people also respect being in that space. And if they eat something in the room, they clean up when they're done. When they have trash, they don't throw it on the floor. They throw it inside the garbage can. When they have drinks that are empty, they put them away or they throw them away, right? People clean up after themselves because that's what we're doing now. And you don't want to go into an environment where everyone else is tidying up and clean and they've kept their workstations clean. And then like you're the sloppy one. That's like not cool. And unconsciously or consciously, we tend to copy the people around us. And so if things are haphazard, no one cares. And that's how they will behave. But if everyone cares and everything is really neat and tidy, people will, oh, let me pick up after myself. That's what we're doing now. So that would be my suggestion for keeping an area clean is have a routine and have a system and keep it very consistent because there are people that are like, I don't work in a space like that. And so you should come work with us because that's how we do. And people won't let each other leave stuff on the desk. They won't let each other leave drinks and drink rings on the table and things like that. They don't let them. Everybody's kind of like, hey, we clean up after ourselves. That's how we do. It's just like in our Facebook groups. Many of you are in our Facebook groups, and we don't allow cussing in our Facebook groups. And so when people start cussing, that's not our norm. That's not how we do. And other people will, you can't say that in this group, right? That's not how we do. And so people will keep each other in check once they know what your company culture is. And so it goes back to how do you run your business? If you're not clear about how you run your business, you can't train employees on how to train other employees how you run your business.
Yep.
And if you don't know how you run your business, you can't train your employees to keep your customers on track with how you run your business. So one of the most important things we can share with you today when the going gets tough, I want you to stop and realize it's possibly, maybe not always, but it's possibly because you have not clarified how you run your business. And once you clarify that and you know what your hours are, guess what? Your family knows what your hours are, and your employees know what your hours are, and your customers know what your hours are. And they're not going to be texting you at 9 o'clock at night because everybody knows what your hours are. But if you don't know what your hours are and you're answering comments and questions at 9 o'clock at night, well, I guess you're in business, right? But if you are clear about how you run your business, you make it so much easier for everyone else to know how you run your business, from your employees to your customers. And here's what's really cool. Your employees are front line to your customers. So when your customers try to take advantage of you, your employees are like, nope, that's not how we do here. And it's not mean, and it's not with any animosity. It's just like, oh, I wish we could do that and we can't, but here's what we can do. Here's what we're prepared to do today. And they will follow through on your company culture because they know the rules and they know that they're enforced at every single level along the way.
I wish I could add something, Angela, but we don't have employees, and I share an office with me, so I have zero that I could add.
All righty. So next question. I love these questions, you guys. Thanks so much, by the way. We had a couple new questions that just came in. Nazor R says, my favorite part of selling vintage items online was adding a personal touch to each package, such as a handwritten well wishes and a thank you note. And this sounds like an online business. And I love the fact that you added that because that personal touch makes all the difference. And so my question to you is, how do you do a personal touch without losing a lot of extra money and time?
You're asking me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, first of all, in terms of the money and time, it doesn't have to be very expensive to do it. It doesn't have to be very expensive to send a note, to write a thank you, to even it's digitally now too. It's like it doesn't cost very much to, I love handwritten thank you notes. I put them up on our mantle. I put them on our bookshelves. I love them. But I also love, out of nowhere, to receive a message of thanks or of encouragement. You ever have one of those days where you're like, kids aren't listening. It's just, and then you get a message and it's like, hey, I just watched the lesson that you recorded. Let me tell you, that's exactly what I needed to hear. I was stuck. And then I watched that and you gave me those tips. And then boom, everything's changed for me. And I just want to let you know that I'm so encouraged right now. And I just appreciate you doing this. And you sit back and you go, everything's great. Everything's great. Thank you for doing that. That took what? Maybe a minute and 20 seconds for somebody to do in a digital form that pressed a button and didn't cost them a dime. So there's, if you can't afford a note or a gift or to think of a book, think about it this way. Somebody says, oh, I really want to what's some books that I should read? And people comment on them. You're like, I can go buy that book. Yeah, you could spend $17 and ship them the book. That's something you're probably not gonna do it for everybody, but I just do it on gut. If I just feel it, I will just go buy that. But if I also send encouraging messages out every single day, but they're real. They're not, hey, thinking about you. They're literally like, who do I want to thank today? And then you think about right now. If you have to say to yourself, I want to send 3 thank you messages today. There are going to be people that are going to be like, I don't even know who to thank.
Mhm.
And it's because they're not thinking about it enough. But I can guarantee you, if we just stop right now and said, let's take a 5-minute break and just think of 3 people you want to thank for something over the last 24 hours, you will come up with we went to that pizza place last night and it was great. Let me just send them a note. They'll be like, wow, nobody does that. 3 times. You do that 3 times a day, you will build a network and relationships and friendships you can't even imagine. Because like you said, we live in a thankless society. So you will stand out so well. Talk about marketing. I think it's the greatest form of marketing you could do. If you just said, I'm going to spend 15 minutes a day thanking people online, you will see. I'll recommend a book too. It's a book called 365 Thank Yous. I'm not sure, Angela, did you read this book?
I haven't read it. No, but you just recommended it to me, so now I might. I love it. See? And not only did you just recommend it to me, you recommended it to all my friends here. So this is awesome.
This book was about this guy that had just life sucked for him. Life was just terrible for him. And he was divorced. He was about to get divorced again. Family wasn't talking to him. Got a thank you note from his ex-wife, I think it was, right before Christmas. And it impacted him. Like she just sent it in the mail. So he said, I'm not speaking to my kids right now. Nothing's going well. On the first day of the year, January 1st, he said, I'm going to write a thank you note a day just to do it. So he wrote a thank you note to his son who he wasn't speaking to. He wrote a thank you note to the barber, wrote a thank you note to the postal delivery guy, to the person that worked in the restaurant, to his mom. Did that every day for a year. And at the end of the year, his life had changed completely. Within a week, his son came back to him, wanted to talk to him, somebody gave him money that he was owed that they wouldn't spend, all from thank you notes. His entire life changed from literally sending 1 thank you note out a day.
Do you know why that works? I know you do, Vincent, but let me pose that as a question. Do you guys know why that works? And I'll share the answer with you. It works because you change from looking at what's wrong with life to what is right with life if you're looking for things to write thank you notes for. So you start finding gratitude in the smallest of things in your life. And when you go from a person that's, oh, life sucks and everything is wrong, like it sounds like he was at the start of the story, by looking for things in his daily walk of life, things that were right, catching people doing things correctly that he could thank them for, suddenly that puts him in a place of gratitude. And you start attracting into your world things that are whatever you're looking for, right? If you are looking for things that are going wrong, oh my goodness, you're going to find them all. Oh, I've just had one of those days. Everything is going wrong. And then guess what? More things go wrong. And then there they are, front forward. But if you look for things that are right and you try to catch people doing things that are right and you thank them for it, all of a sudden people will jump through hoops to try to do more of the same. We learned in Psychology 101 that people behave based on the rewards they're given. So if you pay attention to a particular behavior, you're going to get more of that. So if you are a nagging person, you're going to get more people giving you things to nag about.
Yep.
But if you pay attention to the really positive things that people do, they will trip over themselves to try to do more of those things. We are people pleasers by nature. And so what happens is people want approval of other people. And when you catch them doing things right and you thank them and you appreciate them, they will literally jump through hoops to try to do it again and again and again, right? We live in a society. I'm going to go off on a rant here for just a second, so forgive me in advance. We live in a society that pays attention to sickness and illness and bad things. So somebody gets sick and we're like, oh, how are you doing? How are you feeling? We don't ask people how they're feeling when they're well.
No.
We don't. We pay attention when they are sick. And if they get really sick, then we say, oh, can I get you anything? Can I bring you any soup? Is there anything you need? We don't ask them if they need anything when they're well. And if they get really, really, really sick and they have to go to the hospital, we might even drop what we're doing and go visit them. But we don't visit them when they're well. And if they're almost dead, we'll send a get well card, right? We don't send cards when people are well. And lo and behold, if you go to the hospital and somebody's in their hospital bed, then what do? Oh, let me stop by the gift store and let me get them a teddy bear or some balloons. And we take them flowers and we give them all this attention. And what have we done? We have just trained them. If you need my attention, you have to get sick and you have to get ill and you have to almost die and you have to like make the world stop so that I will stop and pay attention to you. Now that is really twisted and that is really sad. And so in my house, we have this policy. If you're sick, you get to go sleep it off by your own self and there's no attention given. And when you are well, that's when we want to see you and we want to spend time with you and we want to hang out in your space when you're well. And if you're sick, go sleep it off. When you're well, let me know because I want to take you out to lunch then. And we pay attention to when people are well. And in my house, people don't get sick. My husband got sick once in 21 years. He got sick once. We don't get sick. We don't give that any attention at all because we don't want more of that, right? So we're focusing on what is well, what is right, what is positive. I love the 365 thank yous. And if you're a house cleaner and you don't have something to thank your customer for, find something that's different and unique. Because if you're cleaning their house, you're going to go, wow, look, they got a new throw rug. Make a note and send a text. Hey, I just checked out your house as I was cleaning and I see you got a new throw rug. Nice choice. Hey, I saw a new wreath on your front door. That was a really nice touch for the holiday season. Hey, I saw that you painted your baseboards. Don't those look nice? And you can pay attention to the things that cost money in people's homes that they think, well, I'm the only one that lives here. No one notices. Wait a second. My house cleaner paid attention enough. They saw that I got a new soap dish on my bathroom sink. Right. And I love finding those things. They were my little Easter eggs as I was cleaning. I'm looking around my customer's house going, what kind of things did I see? And I clean their house over and over and over again. And when you see something new, you're like, whoa, that is a new set of hand towels. And aren't those spiffy? Nice choice. I love your decorative design. Right. People are like, well, whoa, they noticed. And when it comes time to a cheaper customer or a cheaper house cleaning company that comes through the neighborhood and leaves a flyer in their mailbox, that's not who they want. They want the person that notices what they're doing in their personal life. They want the person that appreciates their business. So Vincent is spot on when he says, write the thank you note because it will go so many places that you can't even imagine.
Love it. And the idea of being a noticer, it's another book. One of my favorite, Andy Andrews wrote a book called The Noticer. And it's basically about becoming that noticer. And what you just said is so spot on. And it can go even deeper personally, meaning like a compliment to them as parents. You know, I hear this. I'm so impressed by the way that you've raised your children. What parent wouldn't want to hear that? You're cleaning their house and they're going to a football game. And I hope it was a great game last night. Go Giants, whatever it is. Those little touches just go such a long way. And I think you're right. It's a lost art that hardly anybody does.
Wow. I love that. You guys, this is so awesome. Anne says, I'm a cleaner, but I need to be more hands-off. How do I do that? This is true for any business, but how you become hands-off is you have to decide why you want to become hands-off, and you have to decide what would have to happen in order for you to become hands-off. What would have to happen in your business? And it goes back to being crystal clear. If you're not sure, how does your business operate? If you're not sure, how do you know what to outsource? And so my job for me, and then Vincent, I'm going to let you answer the same question because I know our businesses are slightly different, but I know you work with a lot of really high profile level coaches. I mean, coaching people in their businesses. One of the things that I do for me is every Monday for me, I have a new set of packets that I give out, and I give them out to independent contractors. And this is during the week. I caught myself doing something I'm not good at. And so I put it together. And if I was going to be more hands-off, what does that look like for me? Well, that looks like for me, and I'm going to be ugly here for a minute, going back to what we just said, I'm not going to write the thank you notes myself. I'm going to outsource those to someone on my team that can write those thank you notes for me. Okay. And so if I was going to outsource something, I'm going to use that as an example. What would have to happen for someone to write the thank you notes for me? I would have to have a list of all the things I was grateful for, the things that I noticed. I would also have to have a way for them to write the notes. I would also have to have a spreadsheet, either with an email address, or if they were going to send it via email or text, I would have to have phone numbers and I would have to have email addresses, right? And is this the same person that could also send a hi, happy birthday I noticed it's your birthday today, right? Is that a dual task that this person could do? What would have to happen for me not to be that person? What would have to happen is I have to have a little program of what that looks like. The next thing I have to know is on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is that task to me that I outsource? And if it takes me 20 minutes out of my day, let's go back to the top of the conversation. If my time is worth $65 an hour and it takes 20 minutes out of my day, I could pay somebody $20 an hour to do that task for me, right? So if I outsource that task, that's in alignment with me not doing it myself. So what do they need to do on a scale of 1 to 10? How important is that? Is that a 10? It must be done every day. Or is this something that on a level 5, they could do it at their leisure throughout the day or the week, right? So I have to rate it in scale of importance to me. And then I have to put a price tag on it. How much is this price worth? Then I have to template it and I have to give it out. Every Monday, I give out my packets. And I have independent contractors that work for me, some for 15 years. And they'll show up and they'll say, what kind of packets do you have for me this week? And I'll say, I got a weird one. And my goal is to sell it. I need someone to write happy birthday cards and thank you notes to my clients. And then I have people that say, well, I do this other task, but that's something that I know how to do and I'm good at that. And I would like the extra $20 a week. So I pick that job and I go, great, here it is. It's yours. I have a personal rule. If you take a job from me, you're saying, I got this. I'm not going to micromanage you. I'm not going to track you down. I'm not going to hover. I'm not looking over your shoulder. You say you got it, you got it. And if you got it, that's awesome. The job is yours. If you don't got it and you didn't do a very good job, I'm not going to give you the next job. Okay. So you have to follow through on what you say you're going to do. But I let people show up. And every Monday morning I have a meeting and people show up and they're like, hey, what do you have for me? I say, oh, I got all kind of weird, crazy stuff I'm doing this week. Who wants this? And people, I want that job. I want that job. I want that job. And every week, my goal is to have packets on Monday that I can outsource to other people on my team. And if by chance I need a packet before Monday, there are a whole bunch of other people on the planet that can do it. And I've run ads on Nextdoor like, hey, I have a weird little project I need help with. Are there any of my neighbors that want this package? I can go to Fiverr.com. I mentioned it already. And I can outsource some of those projects to someone in the gig economy. You do not have to do it all yourself, but you have to be 100% crystal clear about why you want that project outsourced, what it means to you, and how much are you willing to pay, and what is your priority for it. And then the next thing that I recommend is to know enough about the project that you know if what you're getting in return was worth the money. Like if I'm outsourcing SEO, for example, that's a big word, but what does it mean? And if you don't know and you don't understand SEO, don't outsource it. Because when the finished product comes back, you're not going to know if you got what you paid for. But if you have a checklist and you say, this is exactly what I'm expecting, when it comes back and it's exactly what you're expecting, you go, ta-da, here's the money, and you pay them for it, right? All right, Vincent, how about you? How do you work less hands-on?
We come at it from, it couldn't be two different worlds. And I'm in awe when you explain how you build your team. I am a classic control freak solopreneur. Right? So I couldn't be more different. So here's the way I approach it. And this might not be the way that you can see it right now. I have a hard time doing so many things that Angela talks about because of my control freakedness or my just tendency to be a creative solopreneur. That's like, none of that stuff makes me feel really good. It's uncomfortable. Nobody's ever going to do it as good as I can. Like I have all those same classic symptoms. What I figured out to do, and it's a completely different world of what Angela's talking about, is taking what I know and creating something that can earn me revenue on a one-to-many scale, which isn't hiring a team to do more cleaning for you. I would coach and finagle and work like, hey, what is it that you could do that you could start creating content on and start making connections on to where you can teach this in some way, or you can guide in some way, or you can lead in some way. And now say let's say it's coaching, right? Very quickly, you can go from one-on-one to one-to-many. Once you keep answering the same questions over and over again that people get, you go, hey, instead of me talking to you from 3 to 4 on a Tuesday, why don't I talk to 15 of you at 3 to 4 on a Tuesday? Right? And we'll answer your questions and we'll do kind of what we're doing here, but more, intimate. and you're all going to pay me. You'll pay me less money than you would 1-to-1, but I'm happy with that because it's only 1 hour of my time. Now, okay, that's 1-to-15. What if we could do that 1-to-100? What if we could do that 1-to-200? Now, all of a sudden, you've created yourself. Now, it's not this easy, but it happens, and we've done it multiple times. Now you're earning yourself a 6-figure income, and literally your entire audience only expects you for 1 hour plus possibly a group to be a part of that. You don't have to be the main cog of anyway. That's how I did it. So literally, Tim Ferriss wrote the 4-hour work week. We have the 3-hour work week. I have the 3-hour work week where there's 3 hours a week where people expect my time. And then everything else I do on my own. And if I want to write books, if I want to create content, if I want to have conversations, if I want to be on with Angela for 2 hours, we've created it because I can do it. Now, does that mean that's all I work? No. There are some weeks where it is, like if we're traveling with the kids or if I'm sick, whatever, I don't have to do it. But it also allows me to over-deliver in everything that I do. Meaning, if I want to reach out to a client and check in on what they're doing and just get on the phone just because I want to, I've built in that freedom. If I want to do like Angela, do videos, do 26 videos in a weekend because I can just go do it. So time freedom is the most valuable thing in my life, more than financial freedom. Financial freedom's up there, but time freedom to me comes first because time freedom then leads to more financial freedom. I would rather have more time and a little bit less money than a lot of money and no time. So I chase time freedom first. With that time freedom, I decide what I really want to do and I pivot. Okay, this got me there, right? This got me to the 1 hour with 100 people. Now I can tweak it a little bit more to what I really want to do because I've already built that life. So that's the direction that I would go, which is, as you can tell, is completely different than Angela's expertise.
Yes and no. So in the house cleaning industry, it's easy at the end of a job to chitty chat with a customer. And the customer has lots of questions and they want to talk and they want to get to know you and hang out and all these things.
Mm-hmm.
But because time is money and we have to be very careful and cautious and protective of our time, it begs exactly what you just said. Can I do one-to-many instead of one-on-one? Instead of one-on-one conversations? What I like to do, and I've done this for years, I love this approach. I've introduced myself at the homeowner association meetings in the neighborhoods in which I clean. And so I show up at the door and I bring a little coffee mug with me. And the coffee mug I have purchased at like one of these stores where it says like Charlotte on the front of it. I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. So it's like a little city mug. You put a bunch of chocolates in it, wrap it in cellophane. And I say, I am the door prize person for this HOA meeting. And they're like, oh, we didn't know we have door prizes. And I have a little bucket there and people will give me their business card. I give them one in exchange. If they don't have a business card, I have little strips of paper. They can write their name and number on it and drop it in order for me to give out a prize. I got to draw a name. So if somebody doesn't have a business card, they can write their own name and address or phone number, whatever, put it inside the bucket. Okay. At the end, I have all their contact information. Oh, wait. And I'm working in that neighborhood, right? But here's the catch. When you talk about one-to-many, you're now positioning yourself as the expert in front of a room of homeowners who have the capability and the power to hire you, right? And you cannot give away a door prize. You cannot. It is impossible unless someone says, oh, it's now time for our door prize. Angela, do you have a door prize? And I say, yes. And they say, stand up and address the crowd. And you go, oh, yes, thank you. Hello, I'm Angela. I'm the premier cleaning company in this neighborhood. And this is my cleaning company. You all just gave me your information. I gave you my card in exchange. Give me a call if you have any questions. And now for the door prize. And you pull out a name and you say, and the lucky winner is, and you give the lucky winner and you give them the mug of chocolate that cost you $3 or $4, right? So the reality is, you are endorsed by, we call it third-party endorsement, by the person that's the HOA president in the neighborhood that made you stand up and ask you to introduce yourself to everyone in the neighborhood, right? One-to-many. And so instead of doing these little one-on-one conversations, stay for the whole meeting. And at the end, you can say something like, I'm going to hang out here during this whole meeting, and I'll probably hang out in the parking lot after it's over, and I'll answer any house cleaning question you have. Boom.
Love it.
You will be in the parking lot, I promise you, for 3 hours after every HOA meeting, and stand there because that is your sales pitch. Instead of spending an hour with every single customer at every house you clean, stand in the parking lot after the HOA meeting and answer all of the questions, because they're going to come at you from every person. And guess what? After they spent time with you, I didn't have any questions, but I'm just kind of listening in. They're getting to know, like, and trust you. And what happens is when they hear your comments with the neighbors, oh, yes, you're there in the neighborhood and you did this and you did that, whatever. What they're doing is they're saying, would this person work for my house? Do I trust this person enough to have them come over and do a walkthrough in my house? How does this person deal with elderly parents in the home? How does this person deal with pets in the home or with children in the home or whatever? Like, how do they do that? They're going to ask questions if they're not sure they want to have you come over. But by the end of an HOA meeting, you've spent $4 in a coffee mug. You've made 28 great friends. And guess what? Those people that do not hire you today will call you in 2 years from now and say, I met you at an HOA meeting like 2
Absolutely.
years ago, and I see your car all over the neighborhood. And everybody in the neighborhood knows you. They saw your car, they saw you. Of course, you showed up in your uniform, right, to the HOA meeting. They know what you look like. It's one of the best marketing tools ever, but it's just exactly what Vincent said. It's not marketing one-on-one. It's not meeting people and chitty-chatting one-on-one. It's valuing your time and doing it one to many instead of one-on-one. I
It's
love that question. That was a great answer, Vince.
a great question. And it's brilliant because when you're answering this question to this one person over here, someone over here is nodding, saying that's exactly what I wanted to know. So you just saved a lot of time and still it's personal, which is what people want. I love it.
The flip side of that is once you have customers that know, like, and trust you, they're still going to want to chitty chat. They're still going to want to talk. And so you have to bring it back home again. And you have to say, I would love to chitty chat and I would love to catch up on your life and see how you're doing. But because I'm on the clock and you're my boss right now, I want to respect your time as I respect my own. So I'm not able to visit with you right now. But on Saturday morning, I go walking in the neighborhood. And so I would love for you to meet at the clubhouse on Saturday morning and let's go walking around the neighborhood and we'll get our exercising in and we can sit there and we can chat. Well, what happens is they show up at 7 o'clock in the morning in the neighborhood. And of course, you're going to go walking. And if you work 6 neighborhoods, pick a different day of the week, every day of the week, and walk in those different neighborhoods. But the homeowners will come out and they start bringing the neighbor lady and they bring the new lady that moved in. And suddenly it's a group of 10 or 12 people that go walking. And now you're talking about the families and the kids, the ball games, and we talked about writing the note, like, hey, I noticed you painted the baseboards. Now you know when their kids are playing ball games, you know who's graduating from school, you know who's getting married. And now you're saying, hey, great job. I see that Johnny won his ball game or whatever, right? You're in their lives, but not in their lives. You're in their lives on one to many, not one to one. Does that make sense? That was a great question, you guys. I love that. All right, our time is sneaking to a close. I think we have time for 2 more questions. We'll be really quick about this. This one says, I've worked in that time freedom and I feel the same way as homeschooling SAHM as well. What is SAHM?
Stay-at-home mom. Stay-at-home mom.
Stay-at-home mom. I was homeschooled myself. So I really appreciate all of the homeschooled kids out there and the parents that are willing to do that.
That's what we do. And it's so valuable. So valuable. Love that.
So I've got a question here that says, my Etsy shop was a retrospective orange and my notes were hand-cut fabric oranges with unique leaves, which I wrote upon with a basic Sharpie. No big deal, but priceless. I love that. I love personalizing those and that you did that for your customers. That was awesome. All right, I have one more question here. Where do I hire the right people and what's the difference between a 1099 and a W-2? I would love to answer that in the notes after this, as far as the 1099 and the W-2, because that's a little bit longer of a question. Where do I hire the right people? This is a good one. Vincent, how about you take that one?
I'm gonna leave it to again. I said, limited in a lot of ways. We don't hire. We don't have any employees right now. So we're building a solopreneur business out to scale. So I'm bringing it back to the boss, Angela. You're the one into this.
When it comes to the house cleaning industry, where do you hire the right people? The first thing that I do is I go to my happy customers and I say, hey, I'm looking to hire some house cleaners inside this neighborhood. You know how we clean and you know our standard of excellence. Would you or anybody that you know inside your house or any of your neighbors, are you looking for a job? Because we would like to hire you first. And the reason I like to go to my customers first is this. They watch us show up every week. They know how we dress. They know our level of professionalism. They know how we clean. They know how much money we charge. And so when I'm asking for them to give me recommendations, they're not recommending somebody cold. They're recommending somebody that they know. I know the standard of excellence that's going to be required. And I've hired a lot of my customers because they maintain their houses between cleanings. And I show up and I'm like, wow, you did a great job maintaining your house between cleanings. Did you do this? Or, you have several of us coming to your house. They're like, no, I maintained it myself. Are you by any chance looking for a job? Because you'd make an excellent addition to our team. And I've hired people whose homes I used to clean. Okay. I also ask my employees, who do you know who would make a good cleaner for our team? And the reason I ask that is because they show up every day to work. They know how intense the job is. They know how much physical labor is required for the job. They know I'm a taskmaster in that I have a very specific set of rules and regulations, and we follow them every single time so that it makes replicating the business easy. They know what those rules are. If they have friends that are not going to fit in with our company culture, they don't recommend those friends. And so when they find people that would be a good fit for what we do, they come to me. And I mean, I can't tell you how often people have come and said, oh, my friend needs a job here and she'd be perfect for our company. And we're not hiring. And I'm like, okay, let's give her a job, or let's give him a job. Right. So we've hired a lot of people that I'm like, how do you think we're going to make this work? And then we pick up those mommy helper packages, or we pick up deep cleaning jobs, or we do other jobs to make those people fit. Because I would rather hire a good person when they arrive than go looking for a good person when the time is not right. And we will wrap on this. I want to caution you very carefully about when you hire someone. If you hire in a stage of desperation, you're hiring them because you're hoping they will rescue you. And the person that will come to you is looking for a job because they're hoping you will rescue them. Hiring people is not a rescue kind of job. You're hiring people because they would be an amazing addition to your team. And those people will show up because you have an amazing team. So become the kind of company that people will flock to your door and go, I want to come work for your company. And you will never run ads. We have no shortage of people that work for our company. And on the rare events that we've ever required us going out looking for help, we ask our customers first and our employees, because they know our company culture and they know us better than anyone. And they're going to give us a really honest answer about who are the right people. I don't want the wrong people working at my company, and you don't either. Guys, our time is up. Ugh! I hate that our time is up, and I've loved spending this 2 hours today with you. Thank you guys so much. Vincent, I cannot thank you enough for your time, your energy, and your enthusiasm today. Your wisdom is priceless.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. Anytime. Love to do this anytime you want. This is just tons of fun. So thank you.
Thank you. We'll see you guys again next time. Thanks again. Have a great one.